EMS Now, and welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. Today, I'm glad to revisit with Stefan Stockbauer, the head of GreenChips, based in Austria. Stefan, thank you for taking time to speak with us today and give us some updates. And so let me begin by asking you to briefly introduce yourself and GreenChips for the benefit of the audience.
Okay, thanks, Eric, for having me again on the show. So to my person, I'm more than 25 years in the electronic industry, worked formerly 20 years with Maxim Integrated as executive for Europe. And I'm now since 1.5 years with the SAE Group, where GreenChips is a business unit of SAE Connect. GreenChips is an electronic platform which takes care of OEM access and try to connect OEMs which have access, surplus access, and which need parts.
Okay, excellent. And so just to be clear on that, so you take the parts from the OEMs and you try to help redistribute those and within the MS community or even to other OEMs?
Exactly. So it's both. So we get the parts, the surplus parts from OEMs, from EMS companies, and distribute them again back to EMS and OEMs. So GreenChips is a platform between the two parties.
Okay, excellent. Now, yeah, I think quite a bit has happened since we last spoke. I think it was fourth quarter of last year. So why don't you tell us kind of what's new at GreenChips? I understand you have a couple of new franchise agreements that you've signed.
That's correct. So one of our pillars is also to go to be a online franchise distributor. So we signed recently 2 more agreements. One is with a company called Top Diet. It's a diet company in China, which makes second source for to Chemet, to Yaego, to Vishay, especially MLCCs and Tantan capacitors. And the good thing is Top Diode currently have really short lead times compared to the other ones. And the second franchise we just signed a few weeks ago is a US company, Access IO, which builds IO boards. So means less electronic components. It's really boards. So they're doing really IO boards.
Mm-hmm. And so, and within the franchise agreement, how does that work then? Then I mean, is it different for each of them, or is it the same basic kind of a relationship that you have with them?
So it's the same basic, because the idea behind that is that we work again as a platform. So it's not the typical franchise distributions that we have that we stock the parts. It is more that we connect the manufacturer again with the worldwide community to have an easier access to this kind of parts.
Okay. So tell me though, how do you see kind of the current situation in the component marketplace? You know, we're hearing a lot about shortages. We're hearing a lot about, you know, a variety of challenges out there. What's your take on everything?
Yeah, so regarding the shortage, I think it's really, as probably a lot of people have spoken about, it's driven that companies last year due to COVID have started to stop production or reduce production, and especially automotive. And what's then happened is, you know, automotive customers don't store or have a lot of stock in-house. So means once everything ramped up again, already the consumer companies have already ordered much ahead of the automotive companies. So now they are stuck in the supply chain and don't get the parts. For us, it's really good, because that is also where GreenChips comes in. We have a lot of parts which we get in last year as excess now in our hubs, which a lot of companies may need. So I think it's always good also for companies which need parts to have a look at companies like GreenChips and source there, because I think that's a good thing. We get the parts when there is demand, when the market is down, and people maybe have ordered and don't need them, and so that's where we get the parts from our customers, from our OEMs. And now we have them in the hubs, and there are really a few parts which may be interesting also for automotive customers.
Yeah. And then, excuse me. Yeah, that's interesting because we hear a lot of challenges there. And, I often wondered, how much of it might be. I spoke to somebody at one of the semiconductor companies recently, and he said that, it's people starting with new designs and they get frustrated with one. So there's almost some stacking of orders, so to speak, right? That might be overinflating some of the demand.
Exactly. I think if I look back, because as I said, I'm more than 25 years in the semiconductor industry, and these cycles normally happens. And what normally happens is if the company is stuck to get material, what they do is say triple the orders. So I expect at the end of this shortage, again, a lot of parts on the market, which then come back again to us. So it means that's always the cycle. So I expect that by end of the year, we will have a lot of companies perhaps which contact us and say, okay, we have excess. What can we do with this excess?
Right. No, that's very good. And actually, in order to respond to all of that, obviously, you do it all through your platform on your website. I think you indicated that you've been making some improvements to the platform as well. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, so what we still have this continuous improvement of our platform. So as said, we started 1.5 years ago. So it means there are still a lot of things to do. So we improved some of the stuff, for example, when you upload access, so that make it clearer, easier for the companies going to our site and upload access. Also to make it faster, so that they get the analysis, what the access is still worth. We also explain the model more. We make it easier on the other side for customers to come and buy, and also for the companies which have given us the access to see what we still have there from them, to make it really transparent. So one of our goals is to be really transparent on both sides, with the companies which give us the access, to really see exactly to which companies then the parts will be sold at which price, etc. So they can see everything in our backend, and we improve that they have the access to our backend much easier than before.
Yeah. And I'm assuming then that the spec sheets for the different components are all available on there as well.
Yeah, so it means for most of the parts we have the spec sheets on our web. So sometimes it's a bit hard, because we really have a wide variety of products. It's going from semiconductors, connectors, to cables, etc. So for some of these, there are not so many specs outside which we can enter. But it's because that's really one of the things that we put on, that we say we don't do cherry picking. When we work with partners, we try to take all the access. It comes from boards to connectors to passive components, etc. So it's really that we don't concentrate just on semiconductors and electronic components. It's really cables, screws, everything.
Okay. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and we were talking before about it, is the whole discussion of rare earth materials in the industry. And the supply chain dependency issues that came up last year that might make that challenging, some of the geopolitical issues surrounding that. But just from an industry perspective, obviously these are important for a lot of products, for specialty products. And you have an interesting, perspective on that from the recycling side of it. Well, please.
Exactly. So the rare earths, it's mostly needed in permanent magnets, etc., which are in smartphones, computers, television, automotive, etc. So I think first step is to use all the products, the semi-components which are on the market, to use them and not to scrap them. So that's the first thing. And then also once the consumer have used their end products, the televisions, the automotive, that we really that the world is really trying to recycle everything, because you need a lot of power, you need a lot of resources to get the rare earth. So and you already have put in a lot of efforts to extract it from the ore. So means, why not then use it and put it again back and recycle it in all the products that you're already in, and I think that may be the future, especially, for example, for countries like Germany, which don't have really a lot of rare earths. So in Germany, it's really, I think it's there will be the trend that you will see recycling companies which concentrate on getting back rare earths, because that's for countries like Germany, or for most European countries, it's the only option to get enough rare earths, and not depending on China or other countries.
Yeah, exactly. And you're, of course, speaking about professional recycling. You know, I shared with you the in the United States, we have the challenge of people going around stealing catalytic converters off vehicles because it has some rare earth in there. So, and it takes the thieves only 3 minutes to pull it off the car and they're off. But what is it? Rhodium that's 20 gram or something, and there's some in there. So they, you know, this is a lucrative market, I guess, for some people. But you're talking about the real professional recycling. But even if we do that, Stefan, what's your estimate then of, you know, how big of an impact would that be? You know, the market's growing in these factors, so there's that growth factor.
So
what impact would that have?
So I think the recycling will have an impact on because there's a lot of material already outside which you can win back. And I also think that countries like in the US or Australia or Canada, which have one of the most resources on heavy rare earths, will start to mining. The only thing is currently it makes not a lot of sense because China is so cheap. But long term, I think you will see that mining will increase in countries where currently it is down, and in countries which don't have the resources, so will do the recycling.
Interesting. Yeah, this will be an interesting one to track as we move forward in the industry and as they evolve different products, right, and have different needs. And you know, you're right. The countries will be adjusting that. There's a lot of talk in this country. I believe it's called Mountain Pass up in Northern California was one of our big mining operations for rare earths that was effectively shut down, I guess, or very much limited once China started becoming such a cheap provider of these materials. So it'll be interesting to see. Listen, one thing before we end, I always like to talk to you about, and let's talk about, you also signed a new agreement recently with Treedom, because that whole side of your business, I think, is a good story. Tell us about that. Please.
Yeah. So as said, so we reinvest 10% of our share when we sell a product in green projects, and we now have partnered newly with Treedom. It's a company where they do reforesting, but it's a very transparent project. So means there you can really track your tree. You can see it. You can see it growing. You can choose a different kind of trees, and you see exactly how much CO2 over 10 years you will get out of it. And Treedom also is not just, let's say, plant trees somewhere in regions. They also plant it in regions where people perhaps can harvest them. You know, it's not just it's also trees like cacao beans, etc. That means you can choose between different kind of trees. So means currently we have chosen a project in Madagascar, and so we every time when we will look in and see, okay, where we want to do the next project to really get out the most of it, so that it have also effects on sea farmers there and on CO2 emission.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. And I love it on your website. I looked before we got on here. You have the counter, right? The sustainability counter that you have, that as of this morning, at least, there have been 3,013 trees planted.
Yeah.
So but it's interesting. You also had another metric, climate ambassadors trained. It said 10. Tell me about that too.
So SET is a project from Planet for Earth, which where we also worked last year. Means there was a part of the reinvestment was also in climate ambassadors. So Planet for Earth is a company which is also supported by the UNO, and they also do reforesting and train kids in the region or worldwide to be a climate ambassador. and go out and yeah, and get the green idea behind.
Yeah, and also to advocate for better practices, I'm assuming in that, right? So
Exactly, means it's starting to educate kids really from beginning to take care of the environmental.
okay, excellent. Thank you very much for your time. This is, I enjoy speaking to you because I love your model. I like what you're doing, not just with the whole, you know, with the excess part piece, but also, as we've just been speaking here at end, the kind of the sustainability side of it that I think is making an impact. So, so congratulations to you for the effort, the difference that you're making. I'd also say to our audience who's watching this, if you have excess material or you are in need of some things, he is Stefan Stockbauer. They are GreenChips. Look them up on the website. It's very easy to find. And as I always say, if you can't find him, get a hold of me and I will help you get connected with him. Because it works. And no, I look forward, Stefan, to keep, you know, future conversations, to get some more updates. We're watching your platform with great interest because I think it makes a difference. So, so thank you for giving us the update today, sir.
Thanks a lot for your kind words, Eric. And as you say, it's really the good thing is every business, it doesn't matter if it comes from access or if you sell something, it's always a part goes in environmental projects, and it's always as you say, it's also a benefit for the for our environmental and
yeah, our shared environment. Exactly right. So. Very good. Stefan, thank you, sir. I look forward to catching up again later in the year.
Okay, me too. Thanks a lot, Eric.
Thank you, Stefan.
Have a great day.